All right, let's do it. So Friday gap up, gap and crap, or gap and go. Well, it's gapping up around here. Several days up. Right? Doesn't mean it's going to crap immediately. That's for sure. And yesterday's pre-market trend break got reversed immediately, and that got things going up. It didn't get very far, but it was another up day. The momentum slowed. That was expected or anticipated. You see the small candle body, and 437 and a half, 37 and a half. So it's right up there near the prior high, which it fell real hard from. Obvious place, for sellers to be, especially on a gap up after moving up 3 days, reversal in 3 days straight up, which has created this big void. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it take out the high before some kind of selling. And then, of course, by the end of the day, what does that green weekly bar look like that? The uptrend is still intact. This is, I don't know, a schizophrenic, maybe retarded type of price action. Be breaking prior swing lows with such authority, let's say. And then to come all the way back again, it's let's just say not normal historically, but this market's not normal, for many reasons. So SPX, the premium is up here, and so 44.10. I think is a reasonable level where there's premium, and open interest is quite large at 4,400, and maybe it goes for the gap fill. So I think, looking for some type of maybe breakout failure to initiate the trade could be something like this, where it breaks out and comes right back in again. Maybe it makes a new high. Some type of pattern. Well, this was yesterday, right? But there's a pretty big open interest at 43.75, but it should be gapping above that. I'm sure it is, since S&P was up here. Now, up here, it's just pretty close. So you'll have to see if it hits 4,400, maybe you get a spike like this into 4,400 and immediately takes out the low. So you want to wait for at least some type of failure pattern. Now, on the downside, there was premium at down not much at 43.35 and then 43.40. So considering it's up here, the time deterioration is a factor. I think that should be a no-brainer today. Considering it's gapping up here to go back down under yesterday's low, well, you can imagine what that would look like if it should do such a thing. But what a pattern, you won't think that's probable. Of course, anything is possible. But creating a bar like that would be a pretty bearish event, because you'd have something that would look like that. Certainly, we've seen it before. To have such a sell-off today, can't imagine what the motivation would be, other than, Mr. Schizophrenic just hitting the bid. So there you go, 44.10. And if it should begin to sell off, then, look the option table and look further down below where there's premium. But right now, that looks like a safe level. All right. And you can see where the futures are. And we looked at the spiders. So, it's right up here. and it's gapping up SPX and spiders from yesterday's high up into a resistance area. You see, it's still marching ahead, higher highs and higher lows on the hourly chart. The 5-minute has started to whip back and forth. So the uncertainty of commitment at the prior high, normal. And again, what does it look like at the end of the week? We've got a bottoming tail bar, which now has created a new significant reference point of support. So our factory work is applicable to all time frames, higher time frames being more meaningful. And you can see as you just follow the pivot lows, since this low, it's never violated a pivot low. And so while it had on the daily time frame, which opens up the door to lower high and then breaking lower and maybe coming down to test that area, well, that thought now is gone because of the depth of this retracement. And what I said at the beginning of the week was if it could retrace that far, now we view this as a trading range until proven otherwise. And if we can get a new breakout and closing new high up here, this becomes major support. And prior bars low on the weekly, prior pivot low on the daily. Qs, where are you, Qs? I keep messing this up. Oh. A little relative weakness, huh? Lower high. Now the depth of retracement here, let's assume for a moment the market does sell off. And the depth of retracement here is a bit far for a head and shoulders type of pattern because, the textbook pattern is that this is the right shoulder is lower. In any event, we'll see where this ends. And 365. 365. Well, it's up a little bit. Was higher, was 366, but still right near prior resistance. It's reached its destination, as we say. Several days straight up in a row, it just makes sense that at some point we should see some selling today. We'll see the extent of it. And actually, it looks like it's above the high, slightly peekaboo above the high there, but momentum is slowing down. It doesn't mean the trend changes the trend. However, the prior swing low is close by. It would be easy to violate the trend on the hourly time frame. What we like to see in an uptrend, this is a nice consolidation. This is what we call creating support. But what we like to see within an uptrend is when prices clear prior pivot high, it does it in a meaningful way, which moves prices far away from what we call major support. And when they're close together, while this didn't break down and close below it, it reversed right back up again. When the highs are so close together and momentum begins to slow, it becomes relatively easy to violate the trend in that time frame. And as you can see, what happened here on the 5-minute, it made a new high and came back in, and now it's moving lower, beginning to form a little topping tail, but still beginning of the day. Let's use this one. So this has been the weakest. I went to the top of the range to the bottom of the range, come up into some resistance reversal day yesterday. And some selling here, pre-market, not too bad. But this is a better representation of what this market is really about. With these pockets of incredible strength being driven by a few stocks, and we see an index like this. We see a mid cap that looks like this with lower highs and lower lows, just kind of drifting and whipping down. You could look at the NYSE. a broader measure. So, and that's why the breadth is so unhealthy compared to looking at some of the indices. Well, there's 2,000 stocks on there. I hear you, McGraw, but there's 2,000 stocks in there, and biotech doesn't look so great, and there's a lot of regional banks in there. you know, so there you have it. And enough said. There's the Dow, just another schizophrenic pattern of breaking major support, reversing back up, breaking major support, reversing back up, breaking major support, reversing back up. Schizophrenic, I think, fits this market very nicely. So up near new all-time highs. Why not make some new all-time highs today? And then, of course, we look to next week with all the big tech earnings that are coming. Bitcoin, we'll take a little rest after that reversal day up there, but pivot low, pivot low, pivot low, same area, decent wide range green bar up there and consolidating at the top. So it's a bottoming pattern. It's looking decent for now. Crude oil, right? Break of, over here, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, at least the big support resistance level there, and it broke here. So maybe oil is run its course. And of course, the oil stocks have just gotten hit pretty good, and they led the way down. We told those in the ETF trader a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, stay away from this. And gold, not doing bad after hitting this area in this 3-bar reversal, kind of holding here, a little messy. So we need to see the weekly chart turn around, meaning move back up into this bar here. Maybe that could get a continuation pattern on the weekly. Silver broke down, so I don't think much is going to happen there with the shiny metals. And interest rates not doing much up here a little bit. And transports, nice recovery. It was a bit of a disappointment that prices didn't trade above that bottoming tail bar. That would have been a so much better event with the markets coming back from the sell-off, that the transports would have participated. So, the takeaway in this market is, pick the right things and stay away from the wrong things, because there's a whole lot of wrong things. Unfortunately, the right things, they're not that big. And SMH, yeah, I mean, that's a bit of another concern, which, this broke down. It didn't retrace that far. We want to see that continue to show some ability to stay up in this area. And you see Intel today. There was some news on it. That's just not been able to go anywhere. Went down, came down here. AMAT, not bad. Micron, downtrend. So even Techland is not all that broad based. KLAC, LRCX, which is an institutional favorite. So semis aren't looking so wonderful. IGV. Software. Yeah, that broke down and came right back up again. WS. So here's a software ETF, and that's way below. So you got to look at the stocks within it. Another piece of information that says certain stocks are pulling the market. Microsoft, of course, new all-time highs, but that didn't violate major support. And I think that's about it. Everything that we covered. The main thing here this morning, prices are gapping up into resistance. Maybe they push up above, but it's more of a morning to consider, sell the winners or cut back, and let's see where it ends up at the midday, and of course at the end of the day. And we've got certain things that are gapping up. News, what's going on with Snap, and I didn't look at pins, but you got Twitter gapping up a bit there, but quite a bit, showing weakness as well. So, well, to you, Dan. VIX, up, down, schizo. Looked like it was going to come up here, right back down into the range. I don't think it tells us much than what we already know.
All right, good morning. Yep, this week has been, I've heard this ever since Tuesday. I have just been saying, patterns destroyed, rallying to resistance, but amazing 15-minute charts. And that's what we've been trading. It's kind of been difficult to find things on their own page for a new swing. And now today's gap is like the finale of that. So, we talked about it yesterday again. Like, here's IT. Looks fantastic. So do I want to trade the pattern and buy the week's high, which is Wednesday? Or am I going to get caught in a possible breakout failure if the broader markets come in? So that's my dilemma on new swings. We had Home Depot on our watch list. That still looks good over the week's high. Hey, Dennis, good morning. Yeah, no worries. Hey, Dennis, when you're typing to me, if you can change your drop down, all panelists and attendees. Jose is asking about BA. No, there's no changes right now. That was a 180 reversal, and we said we'd be looking to add. So yeah, no changes right now. We're still fairly light. We added a couple put spreads yesterday. Today's obviously 0 DTE day, my favorite. So let's all be on the lookout for that. DHI, we did a call spread yesterday. So that's gapping down in a strong market. So that's a good sign of relative weakness. DHI McGraw, yeah, just, there's absolutely nothing there of interest in me. Let's look at some gappers and earnings. Beaky, it was trying to hold here, but remember we did an MT live about buying bottoming patterns. There's no something yet, right? So it could be a possible one if you had a little big old bottoming tail of some sort, but now it's swan diving lower. So nothing to do with that. Twilio, they're asking, again, it's the same scenario. I don't buy 4 bars up at resistance, but if you want to trade the 15-minute chart, I sound like Groundhog Day here. So yeah, you can buy 15-minute high on Twilio as a day trade. The bullish weekly, bullish monthly. Look at Splunk here is actually on my long list and a put spread. Made a bottom, had a 1, 2, 3, has a beautiful weekly buy setup there from a bottoming pattern. Baidu, these Chinese stocks, man, China is a dictator, as we know, and they have no mercy on coming after people, businesses, industries. This we actually had in last weekend's letter, both as a call spread and a directional short with a big target. I think this thing's going to 150, or 155. That's over $20 lower. Gave us a sell setup yesterday, reversal. That would have been a nice short under yesterday's low. But now we got a gap down to deal with. So China today, they're coming after these for-profit schools, and they just wake up one day and they're like, "I think you all should be nonprofit." Well, a for-profit public company school that's turning to nonprofit is not a good thing for shareholders. So they're obviously getting whacked. So look at EDU. Look at Tau down $12. I was watching this as a potential bottoming pattern. Same kind of thing, but the 20 MA is flattening out, but there was absolutely no trigger to get in yet. And back to that MT live, you need a something something bar, and you don't got it. This is just a consolidation and a downtrend, and that's just getting whacked. Here's go to another one. Just carnage, carnage, man. Uh, Diddy is another one that China's been going after. Austin, you dropped him. This was an IPO, and they got in trouble right after the IPO about China coming after their disclosure practices. I mean, not disclosure, but keeping clients' records and so forth. And forbidding new clients. And look, I mean, don't get in the way of accounting irregularities. That's like the kiss of death of a company. And now I'm going to add this to the list too. Don't get in the way of a dictatorship. Um, that's powerful. AXP here. I don't know if it had earnings or just an upgrade, but look at that. That's a huge gap. And I don't know what's wrong with Kramer today. He's just throwing technicals totally out the window. He's like, yeah, of course, buy AXP. What's gapping up? $10 or, nine and change. You're telling people to buy that? He's also telling people to buy Twitter up $10. Or no, this one's up a few dollars. It was Snap. Snap? You got rocks in your head to buy this. This is a $10 gap. I don't know what's wrong with him today. He used to be a little bit more reasonable. He would say, "Yeah, it's a big gap. He used to say you'll get a better price probably in a couple days on a retracement." He used to say something like that. Um, pins here we're in. This is one we are long stock. Beautiful, beautiful one. Bullish 123. The turn on support, the 250. Beautiful trade. I'm assuming it's gapping up with um, the positive news on Twitter and Snap and so forth. So we'll keep a tight leash on that. Space, yeah, space is in danger territory. Now I remember when I gave this, we today's Friday, we gave it on Wednesday, and I remember saying the only thing I would like better is a more potent reversal, like a bottoming tail. Because yes, this did make the turn at the 200 on support, so the trade was valid. But yesterday's bar was a small 180. So we just got to keep the stop. Jacopo, MCO, UPS, Midler, MCO. It looks higher. It looks higher. You got a small downside shakeout. all-time highs. That's a powerful uptrend. It looks higher. Midla, I got zero interest, up 4 bars at resistance. They are. UPS, it has to break out. But, that's a reverse heading shoulders. Left shoulder head, right shoulder. But it's worth watching. Just mechanically, every time I look at UPS, I look at FedEx. That one's lagging. Jim, Amazon, definitely. Jim, definitely. If we always wait 5 minutes at least, as always. Definitely. Let's see what the juice is and how far out. But it's a candidate for sure. Yeah, we had a beautiful 1 DTE on that yesterday, and went ahead and took our money into the close. Neil. Oh, that's getting hurt with China. Oh man, yeah, that was a beautiful, yeah, we did a put spread. All right, let's move stop 30-minute low on Neo. Just give it a little bit of time here. But yeah, that's another victim. These China stocks. Look at JD. That wasn't no, Roger. No. There's no pattern. It's damage, gap. No. Um, Here, JD that's a nasty gap. Um, don't mess with China stocks right now. Uh, I mentioned Baidu. Look at Baidu. This is the one I mentioned. I wanted to swing short this. I think it's going down to 155, 150. It's just, where do you want to enter and where's your stop? That's the only problem. Baba, yeah, this sector is getting whacked. KWeb is the ETF. Look at that. Nasty. This, I mean, it's on minor support, but I think it's going to come deeper into this breakout area. I think this is headed to the low 50s. I would stay away on the long side of Chinese stocks right now. Did I make that clear enough? All right, Riot we never entered, but we did do Mara. Mara, we have a put spread. I had eBay as a long day